Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge that every generation, there's a book everyone should read. It's called The Fourth Turning. It's not a great read, I'll be honest with you in advance. I read it 25 years ago. One of the most seminal books I've ever read, because what it will show you is that every generation goes through different stages. A winter time, a really, really rough time. A springtime, like after the rough times, we usually see this easy growth. You know, a summer where, God, I'm working hard, doesn't seem the reward. And then a fall where all the rewards show up in a major level. But those seasons, which may be 10, 20 years, are a way of thinking. For some people, those seasons happen in their youth, some midlife, some later, because there's a cycle of history. It's 1,000 years of history you can study. It's fascinating. I'm not going to try and explain it to you right now, but if you want perspective, it's there. The generation you're speaking of, the millennial generation, a very special generation. I don't mean special like you're so special, but special because they have a unique place in human history. They've experienced certain shocks at a certain time. They are an archetype of one of the four seasons of life. The last one is called the Great Generation. Think about this. If you were born in the year, say, 1900, 1901, 1902, something like that, when you're coming of age, 20 years old, when you want to think about your life and where it's going and all that stuff, right? Let's say 1910, excuse me. When you're coming of age, if you're born in 1910, the stock market crashes. The biggest depression in human history, at least that we're aware of, modern history, happens. You know, 50% of the people seem to be losing their jobs. There seems to be no hope whatsoever. Right as you're coming to your early prime, going to make things happen. Oh, so that's 1929. What happens a decade later when you're about to turn 30? Another seminal time in your life. World War II breaks out. Holy shit, the whole world likes it's going to get over. We're talking about World War all over the earth, and it looks like Hitler's going to win, and that we're going to have Nazism everywhere, and countries are dropping like flies, and the economy's going through the floor, and you just turned 30.
Right.
But guess what? At 40, the greatest bull market in the history of the world began for that generation. But they were so tested and so strong from everything they've been through. But then they were tested by their own kids who didn't have to go through that suffering, who thought life should be easy for them and said, look at you, you're not balanced, you aren't fair to women. And they weren't, right? But they were busy fighting wars to get to the point where you'd have time to do that. It's like, see, people say, you know, art for the sake of art's sake is for the well-fed. Right? You know, it's like, you know, these people have a different, and so it's not like challenges disappear, but they're called the Great Generation because they found their way through those things because it was a generation that was not taught to look for excuses. I think the millennial generation is the next great generation if they play their cards right. And I think there's enough great people in that generation to help lead a new direction for it. And I think technology allows them to connect in new ways, but technology unfortunately also pits them against other people because if you've seen The Social Dilemma, you know there are people manipulating your brain and your biochemistry and your dopamine right now. So, but I think they'll figure that out. I think they really will. Now, the answer to your question, I want to give that context because without the context, all this is about survival or doing okay for yourself. And I think you're not going to feel a great life just trying to take care of yourself. Don't get me wrong. It's like, if you know the Indian tradition, in India that they teach these four aims of life. The first aim is Artha, A-R-T-H-A, and what that means is prosperity and security. That it's important to take care of that because when that prosperity and security is there, it's not like that's not spiritual. Taking care of yourself and your family is part of life, and so you need to do that. And then the next level of development, the next aim of life is Kama, K-A-M-A, and that means pleasure. And it's good to find pleasure. Like if you found good work that serves more than yourself, you're going to prosper. But then do you enjoy it? And do you enjoy your life? And do you appreciate things? And it's like finding that appreciation. It isn't just sensuality or sexuality. It's music, it's art, it's family, it's all these things. It's the history of your own country and finding the good, right? And then the third level for that most people have heard of is Dharma, which is, you know, your purpose or your truth. But notice, you really don't have a real clear dharma in most people unless they got some level of prosperity, security, some level of enjoyment of life, that they get to the point of thinking broader. Now, some people early on are trying to find their purpose. What's my purpose? What's my purpose? I got to find my ultimate purpose. Who said there's one freaking purpose? Where did you get that delusion? And why does it have to be so huge? I know, like when I was a young kid, I had this purpose statement. The purpose of my life is to be a passionate, loving, incredible creation of what God shows is possible by serving all its humanity and lifting them. And I mean, it went on and on and on. Now, like, what's my purpose? How can I help? I mean, serving is what my purpose is. I don't need all this bullshit. And that means I can do it when I say hello to the mailman. I can do it in front of 50,000 people. I can do it with my child, right? And there's lots of different purposes as you go through your life. But most people are trying to get that. They haven't even figured out what the hell they're going to do. They haven't even figured out how to enjoy their life. Your purpose will unfold if you do the right thing. So now to answer your question precisely and specifically in short order, you need to put yourself in a position, if you're going to be successful, is to have ideally your own business or a business where the more value you add, the more you earn. You can work for someone else and do that. If you had stock options, you could do that if you've got bonuses. But to me, autonomy, if you really want an extraordinary life, I believe, this is just personal preference. This is my opinion. This isn't the truth for everyone. Is if you can find yourself in a place where the more value you add, the more you can grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, then you can write your own ticket, right? And so owning your own business to me is one of the ways to do that, or partnering with somebody in a business, or working for somebody, but where they treat you as a partner, you get a piece of the business. So you don't have to be only on your own. But if you're gonna grow, you need to make whatever business you're part of, even if you work for somebody else, you gotta think like an owner. Because if you do, you become one. And if you think like an owner and you're gonna succeed, then you gotta model the people that are successful. It's like why we put this challenge together. It's not just me. We've got about a dozen of the best people in the world, all different ways. Because they're like, oh, Tony can do this, but what about, here's Jenna Kircher with her camera and what she's doing, making a couple $1 million a year, being a mom, enjoying her life, right? So they get to meet them all and not just be inspired, but this is specifically how to do it. Because you know, and I know, there's you get to have that I didn't have 20 years ago, or even 15 or 5 years ago, some of it, but certainly not 30 years ago. It cost a fortune to do this stuff. Everything's for free now. You can put up a podcast and reach millions of people. That was impossible in the stage of my life. So there are ways to leapfrog because of technology that you want to take advantage of. So you want to model somebody that's incredible, but then what's going to make that business work or not is two things. Do you understand who your ideal client is? You can't be a client to everybody. You got to know you can help everybody, but who's your ideal client? Who's the client that's going to stay with you when the economy gets bad? Because as you said, winter always comes. I was saying winter came then because I knew we'd had a bull market so long that we're going to have a bear market. We usually have one every 5 years. We have this unbelievable long period of time where without having one, and I wanted people prepared. Because when things go down is your greatest opportunity. You want to take advantage of this time because when it goes back again, because it will, we can't just keep printing dollars forever or putting ones and zeros in computers without inflation. We're already starting to see it. And most of you don't know what inflation is. I remember buying my first house at 18 years old, a triplex at 18% interest. It's hard to make money at 18% interest.
Yeah.
Now you got like 2.5 for people right now. It's different universes. So you got to be prepared for whatever's coming. And the way you do that is know who your ideal customer is, who you can add value to, fall in love with them. What do they need? What do they want? What do they hate? And not fall in love with your product, fall in love with them so you can keep meeting their needs and then come up with an irresistible offer. If you have those two things, you're going to win. I mean, I remember I saw there's a great little series out right now on, I think it's the History Channel. They've done these series in the past. You may have seen them, Lewis, like the people that shaped America, and they show like all the guys that built Standard Oil, like the Rockefellers and so forth. They're doing one right now on the food that built America. And it's fascinating. And so one of those stories was about the pizza business. And I won't run it for you, but one of those was such a perfect example was Domino's Pizza. He was going bankrupt. He couldn't figure out what the hell to do. He couldn't make any money no matter what. And then one day he had a problem delivering something and somebody was pissed off and they go, I will not accept this pizza if it takes more than 30 minutes. And he heard it. And then he tried on every call, Domino's Pizza, we deliver within 30 minutes or your pizza is free. He made an irresistible offer, not just that we'll deliver by 30 minutes, but I will be penalized. You will get it for free if you don't. That offer turned Domino's from a losing company to one of the most dominant pizza companies in the history of the world.
Wow.
Having an irresistible offer and knowing who his client was. He went for kids in college. He targeted them because they ate more pizza and you could deliver more to the same dorm with more people. So he knew his ideal clients. He knew who else he wanted to serve. He came up with the irresistible offer. Done deal. Unbelievable business.